I thought today I'd get outside and, just get out into this beautiful weather. We're finally getting some good weather here in New York. This is video number 1 in a series that Eric and I are going to do on how to become a better photographer. And it's not going to be the nuts and bolts of photography, like, what settings should you use and things like that. These are more general, guidelines or opinions we have about how you, as a beginning photographer or an intermediate photographer, even as somebody who's been shooting for a long time, just to improve and get better and keep learning. So we're going to try to keep them short and quick and just give you some pointers, maybe some actionable things that can help you up your photography game. I'm going to start with the number 1 thing you can do. This is more important than anything really when it comes to photography. It doesn't matter what camera you have, none of it matters as much as this. Put this in your hand more. And that is the one thing that I think people don't do enough of. We all have good intentions to go outside and shoot as much as we can, but life happens and you don't use your gear as much as you should, and you just don't get out there and shoot. So that is the most important thing, I think, is to use your camera and learn it. And whatever one you have, it doesn't really matter. You could have a point and shoot, you could be shooting with a DSLR, a mirrorless camera, whatever it is. Learning your camera, learning the settings, and actually shooting is what's going to make you a better photographer. So you might say, well, that's great. I still don't know how to use my camera. I'm still learning all that stuff. But this is what happens when you're shooting, and it happened to me, it happens to everybody. You start out and you're just taking photographs and you're messing around with the settings and you're trying to learn how to do it, and you think you get something and you're happy with your shots. Then you come home and you put your camera down for a month. Then when you pick it back up and you want to go back out and shoot again, you don't remember what all the settings do, and it's frustrating. And it can be, something that you just put aside and said, But if you're willing to force yourself once or twice a week to take the camera out, even if it's for a 10, 15-minute walk or shoot in your backyard, shoot your kids, shoot somebody, whatever it is, just get the camera in your hand and take some images. You're going to start to remember what all of those settings are. Once that gets ingrained into you, you don't forget. So there are times where I'll put my camera down for a week or 2 at a time, and I'll pick it up. And now everything's intuitive. I don't have the menus memorized and things like that, but I understand aperture, ISO, shutter speed, and that's something that I'm not going to forget at this point. And I've been doing it for so long that it's kind of built into me, but you have to get to that point. And the only way to do it is have the camera in your hand and to shoot. So here's a little tip if you want to shoot more and you want to learn what you're doing in different situations, is to challenge yourself. One of the things that I found really helped me out a lot was to get involved in local activities here. Maybe at a local like American Legion Hall or an Elks Lodge, the school, my kids, when they were little at school, I volunteered to photograph anything. Eric would do it with me. We'd shoot Halloween parties, school dances, picnics, Halloween parades, whatever was going on at the school, sporting events. And we did it all for free. And it was a great way for us to, give back a little bit to our neighborhood here, but also it kept the cameras in our hands. So if you're involved in anything locally, church functions, whatever it is, that's a great way, especially when you're new. And here's a little side note on that is when you're new, artists are very hard to charge for things. It's something that doesn't come easy to us. I know it was difficult for me. It's difficult for Eric. You don't have the value in your work yet, and you're kind of not sure. So at the beginning, I think it's okay to do things for nothing and, just volunteer your time and your services, and work will start to come your way because people will see what you can do and they'll want to use you for other things. Maybe you'll get hired to do a Sweet 16 or a bar bat mitzvah or an engagement, a wedding, whatever you're comfortable doing. This is a great way to get started and to get your feet wet in photography, and it forces you to maybe get out of your comfort zone, which I think is really important because that's how you grow. When you're nervous, when you have that nervous energy and you're not really sure what you're going to be doing or what you really need to do, and you still go for it anyway, that's going to make you a better photographer. And the next time you do it, you'll be a little more sure and you'll be willing to try something else. And that's how you grow. If you're got the camera sitting in the bag and you're busy online all the time looking up gear and looking up this and that and not shooting, you're really doing yourself a disservice, because the gear is not as important as just getting the camera in your hand and learning how to use it. Along the lines of also having your camera in your hand more, it's also about making an effort to get unique shots and to get out at different times of the day and forcing yourself to get out there and shoot more. Now, Eric is in Florida right now, and he's down in Disney shooting, the parks and doing what we do. This is not something he had to do. He wants to do this because it keeps him, shooting, and it keeps him interested in photography, and it challenges him to shoot something that you've shot so many times and still come up with something new is really a challenge. And that's something that both of us really love with photography and shooting the Disney parks. And if you're new to this channel and you don't know who we are or what we're doing, Eric and I have an Instagram and Facebook account where we post images from the Disney parks. We put out 2 books about Walt Disney World and Disneyland, and that's kind of our genre of photography. We shoot everything. If you follow us on Instagram, and you'll see we shoot all sorts of things. But the Disney stuff is really like our niche and what we really, enjoy doing. But Eric has shot that park 20 different ways, and he has thousands of beautiful images from there. But he's still down there for 4 days, knocking out more, probably a couple of more thousand images, just trying to get better and shoot different ways and try different gear and do that. So that's making an effort. Our friend Nick, who's an excellent photographer, we know through the Disney, photography world, but just a couple of weeks ago, he was down in Washington, D.C. with his family, and he sent me a couple of images that he shot. And when I asked him, what'd you do, where'd you go, he got up at 4 o'clock in the morning and went out to the National Mall and took pictures of the memorials and the Capitol building at 4 o'clock in the morning. So, along with having the camera in your hand, make the effort to get out there and be somewhere special at a certain time of day. Get up early even when you don't want to. Push yourself a little bit, and you'll be rewarded with great images, and those images are going to fuel you in your photography, because once you start to see what you can do with the camera, you're just going to want to keep pushing it and seeing what else you can do with your camera. So look out for these videos. This card is about shutter speed that Eric did, and this card is about aperture. So if you're new to photography, these are like the nuts and bolts. So if you're still not sure about how to use your camera, check out these 2 videos, and we'll see you in the next one.